Welcome once again to the 25th of April 2018. My name is Patricia Lokoma and I'm here to take you through the details of the bulletin. But first, let's have the headlines. President Museveni orders for UTL revamp. UBC to publicize agricultural research. Iran might wrap up its nuclear program. Thank you so much for choosing UBC TV. Starting off with our head story, President Yoweri Museveni has said that the African continent has lagged behind in technological advancement between the political fragmentation, societal disintegration and persistent use of manual as opposed to intellectual labor for development. The president made these observations yesterday at State House in Entebbe while delivering a lecture to a delegation of military officers from the Tanzanian National Defense College.
We have identified what we call strategic bottlenecks. Which must be dealt with together, not moja moja. You may not be able to do all of them at a go, but you must be clear about them. You see, for instance, you take the example of if you don't deal with electricity, even if you educate people, without electricity, you will not have enough factories, as you are saying. I have told you that here in Uganda, if we do not have the East African market, we wouldn't have moved. Because when you improve a little bit, you come up. The internal market is not enough because of the fragmentation of the African market. So, but that issue was not attended to. In fact, we had the East African community here. It collapsed. People allowed it to collapse because they didn't understand the importance. They thought that it was for the leaders, maybe, not knowing that it is for the people. Because the people are the ones who need prosperity. It's not the leaders. The leaders are already getting salaries. So, this question of knowing what is crucial is really the problem in Africa. Once that one is sorted out, but then there's also the question of infrastructure like electricity. But people are waking up now. I can see countries are waking up. Here in Uganda, 1986, they were producing 60 megawatts. So you wonder what sort of, even the civil servants were really dead. Because even Idi Amin, if somebody had gone to him and said, General, Field Marshal, in order to have a strong economy, lazima tujenge umeme, I'm sure Amin would have done it because of his anataka kuwa successful leader. But even the civil servants, they don't understand. You find a commissioner of darkness, of no electricity in the Ministry of Energy. He's commissioner of energy. Where is the energy you're talking about? 60 megawatts. A commissioner of electricity. You people. So similarly here in Africa, Africa is very, very rich. But there are so many conflicting ideas.
Interactions this evening.
Thank you.
Your Excellency, I have a small
Uganda Telecommunications Network, Uganda Telecommunications Limited, and a Chinese manufacturer known as Zenland have gone into partnership to manufacture mobile handset phones in Uganda using locally available raw materials like coltan. The Presidential Press Unit has got more.
The mobile phone. They will give the details.
First of all, I'm very excited that as Uganda, we are now going to manufacture our phones here. And this is all as we revamp UTL. We've gotten a company called Zenland, a Chinese company that has gone into partnership with UTL to manufacture these mobile phones in our country. That will only mean that Ugandans will not have to travel to China, to Europe, to US to purchase mobile phones. They will be purchasing these mobile phones from Uganda. Another exciting news is we have almost 90% of all the ministries and departments now purchasing their internet from UTL. We know that the best way for UTL right now is data, and we are bringing down the cost of data to 70. Data was very high per megabytes. One data per megabytes was costing 350. But now, with UTL getting revamped, it's going to cost 70 in the beginning. Even it will go further down to 25 if all factors, like the mathematicians say, if all factors remain constant, if Ugandans keep on supporting their company. So what do I want to tell Ugandans? Please come and support your company. Buy this mobile phone that is going to be manufactured by UTL together with Zenland, and support the policy of Buy Uganda.
Continue. President Yoweri Museveni has called for extension of rural electrification to more villages within the country. The president was yesterday discussing strategic areas of investment in the country, among them rural electrification, with the visiting managing director of Lexicon Peer Management Services Limited, Mr. Rama Ruthra, and his delegation, who called on him at State House in Entebbe. Lexicon Company is based in New Delhi, India. During the meeting, the Indian entrepreneurs expressed interest in ventures like modernizing Entebbe Airport into international standards. President Museveni also advised the Indian investors to look into the production of industrial alcohol out of carbohydrate-laden crops like cassava. Still with the Presidential Press Unit, President Yoweri Museveni and the Visiting Director General in charge of the Department of African Affairs in Japan, Ambassador Takeshi Osuga, have discussed matters pertaining to the strengthening of bilateral relations between Japan and Uganda in particular, and the African continent in general, focusing on economic, political, and infrastructure development. During the meeting that took place at State House in Entebbe and was attended by the Japanese ambassador in Uganda, Mr. Kazuaki Kameda, President Museveni commended Japan for the support and establishment of public-private business partnership in Uganda. He urged Japan to prioritize areas of exploration of Uganda's iron ore deposits, Uganda is hosting a two-day international summit on leadership in healthcare facilitated by high-profile plenary speakers and world-class researchers. This event provides a forum for discussion that leads to the latest leadership innovations in the healthcare and to also explore its sustainability in the Ugandan healthcare system. The summit was officially opened by the Prime Minister, Dr. Ruhakana Rugunda.
In 2016, President Museveni issued strategic guidelines and directives for Uganda to attain the middle income status by 2020. Key tasks of the government were highlighted, and in the health sector, issues included poor service delivery and shoddy work in the health infrastructure. Prime Minister Dr. Ruhakana Rugunda said this leadership summit should be explored to address Uganda's healthcare challenges.
Government can consider to generate a policy direction for the health sector. So in a way the timing is excellent because it's coming when the government is looking at new ways and new means and new solutions for tackling our health delivery challenges. I'm glad the Honourable Minister of Health was talking about standards in pediatric care. I think that every sector now should be looking at improving standards of care, quality of care. As government, we are particularly concerned about the human resource for health. How can we curb organized absenteeism of health workers and negligence of duty? Absenteeism of health workers cheats government of up to 40% of their time of employment. This malpractice affects the quality of patient care and destroys teamwork, and of course undermines confidence in health sector, health services, and health institutions. Because it means patients will come and find there is nobody ready to respond to them when health workers are not available. May I urge this meeting to come up again with practical solutions that the Minister of Health can adopt to motivate our workforce and also improve its vigilance in enforcing statutory provisions on human resource management.
State Minister for Primary Health Care, Sarah Opendi, noted that simple training in key leadership competences can have a great impact on healthcare services.
The achievements that have been attained over the years, partially because of the leadership of a great lady, Dr. Kekitinwa. Right Honourable Prime Minister, I want to confirm to you that wherever Baylor has been, there is a difference. They have been able to improve the quality of care in most of our facilities. And if you go to the regions where they are operating currently, there is a difference with the other regions. The chairman from Kabarole district is here, and he's here as an example.
The Executive Director, Baylor, Uganda, Dr. Ade Kekitinwa, said that her organization believes that improving the leadership skills of health workers is crucial in developing a stronger health system in Uganda.
We chose to be here to make sure you understand what is this little thing they are calling caring together. Caring together is all about how do we harness the small little resources that we have to improve leadership for improving healthcare.
The summit will offer plenty of networking opportunities, providing a forum for Ugandan experts in leadership in healthcare to meet and interact with their international counterparts. The summit is under the theme Sharing Strategies for Success. Michael Mgera for UBC News.
And in the agricultural sector, Uganda Broadcasting Corporation has signed a memorandum of understanding with the National Agricultural Research Institute to start an agricultural research program with the aim of making visible agricultural research and innovation. The Managing Director, Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, Agaba Winston, pledged to communicate the information effectively and efficiently in order to help fight poverty in the populace.
Farmers continue to face challenges of pests and diseases which affect their yields. These include cassava mosaic, banana bacterial wilt, and army fullworm. Research is being done by National Agriculture Research Institute to solve the problems of farmers by coming out with crops that are resistant to pests and diseases. However, these innovations have not received enough publicity. Now, Uganda Broadcasting Corporation has entered agreement with NARO to increase its publicity.
Agencies that has spearheaded the call of the President to come and partner with UBC, as we make sure that we publicize whatever research that is coming out in agriculture, for the good of Uganda, and not so much has been known by the Ugandan population as to how can we use the research from NARO to better the lives of the households and also the commercial farmers.
The Chief Executive Officer NARO, Ambrose Agona, says they develop more than 1,000 technologies and practices
to the masses. His Excellency has been talking about moving the 68% of the farmers who are currently trapped in the subsistence economy. We are talking about commercialization. And there's no way we can talk about commercialization without actually thinking about science, technology, and innovations. We look at the latest innovations that to move away these farmers. We look at aspects of increasing production, productivity, value addition, market access, and at the same time to profitability. But core among it, you need the energy. We're talking about food security, nutrition security, and as well as job creation and wealth creation.
Through the agreement, the program has to have the agricultural research expressions simplified for effective communication and fall under the UBC mandate of education to the populace. I'm Nafka Farida, reporting in Kampala.
Still with UBC, Uganda Broadcasting Corporation has been lauded for its impactful reporting that saw a trunkus baby, Ejura Peter, access financial assistance for a heart surgery in India last year. Ejura Peter's parents had almost lost hope of getting help for treatment after toiling places, reaching out to individuals, NGOs and companies, all in vain. Surprising, when they set foot to Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, they were offered airtime to air out their predicament to well-wishers, and indeed, it paid off.
A couple from Kole District came to Uganda Broadcasting Corporation headquarters seeking to have their predicament aired with the hope of getting financial assistance for a heart surgery of their trunkus ill baby. At the time, the family had secured medical bills, but the challenge was with the money for air tickets to India and pocket money for the time they would tend to their baby while there. UBC TV, through its social corporate responsibility, did not disappoint as it offered airtime and carried a news story in all the three bulletins of Kiswahili, Luganda and English. Eyaru Patricia, Ejura Peter's mother, says this helped a lot to affirm their predicament and clarify that they were not mere beggars but an embattled family that needed assistance dearly.
Because some people, they have been called as a beggar, even a thieves, that they will just want to eat their money. So when they had now the UBC, so they really feel that we are looking for the life for our baby.
It is against this backdrop that Eyaru Patricia decided to pay a courtesy call to UBC and pass a vote of thanks for the gesture.
So happy, you people, you help my son. And also you make people to feel that this baby has a bad condition and they have to help him. So with that encourage, you give to people, because without you people were not going to give us anything. So thank you so much, UBC.
Ejura Peter's father, Okelo Diki, did not make it to UBC in person, but managed to send an SMS that reads in part, "Greetings to the management of UBC TV News Department and all staff. I, the father of Peter Ejura, and my family, give thanks to UBC TV News Department." Though the family is left with the burden of always finding funds to facilitate a review process and a special diety, Eyaru Patricia appeals to non-government organizations, especially Action for Disadvantaged People, to continue with the good work.
I wanted him to continue with that work. I wish God could give such kind of people, if there were 2 or 3 in our country, I think this sickness was not going to be a big issue to us.
Now, 1-year-old Ejura Peter undergoes routine medical review to establish his progress, which at the moment is promising.
To him, he's breathing well, and the ECG was well, even the echo. So they told me I should continue with the medication. After 3 months, I have to bring him back.
It should be noted that by the time of this referral, the Mlago-based Heart Institute could not handle such special cases. However, early this year, the Uganda Heart Institute successfully carried out a number of heart surgeries after a thorough infrastructure facelift. Dorcas Kimono, UBC News.
Well, thank you so much, Dorcas Kimono there. Right now, we're going to go for a short break, but before we go for that break, we do have more stories coming up, stories like we do have a Pan-African Parliament president that is going on. There is a search for a Pan-African president, that is parliamentary president, and we do have an Egyptian member of parliament giving it a shot. That and more stories will come your way after the break. Welcome back. Starting off with rehabilitation there in Parliament, the Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Oulanyah, has applauded the office of the Prime Minister for the generous support towards the people of northern Uganda. Oulanyah was speaking at an official handover of iron sheets to the people of northern Uganda at the Prime Minister's office in Kampala.
The Deputy Speaker and the Member of Parliament of Omoro County constituency, Jacob Oulanyah, says providing effective household income support and building resilience of the poor and the vulnerable in northern Uganda is an initiative. Oulanyah was presiding over the function of delivering iron sheets to the beneficiaries under the presidential pledge through the Office of the Prime Minister.
But I'm delighted with the responses. OPM has always responded, so I want to thank you. You have responded with food items, you have responded sometimes with blankets. Whatever you can lay your hands on, you have not hesitated to intervene to try and help our people. So I want to thank the government for implementing projects aimed at the recovery and development of the greater northern Uganda. Office of the Prime Minister has particularly taken lead in implementing projects that target the vulnerable communities in northern Uganda.
The State Minister for Northern Uganda, Grace Kwechinyi, says government has a number of programs, including those who are affected by the nodding disease.
You have seen the status of their housing, and we think with the iron sheets we shall give, at least that will be an improvement. And so when my colleagues are here, I would like to, because of the challenges of these families who are not able to give a lot of their time to economic activity, to other activity than protecting their own children. If we can mobilize community support to raise the walls so that they have a fairly permanent wall, then they can have this shelter, these iron sheets.
Over 2,000 iron sheets have been forwarded to the communities of Omoro, Padel, Chitugum, and Lira. The iron sheets were received by Member of Parliament from Northern Uganda. Mutesa Sila Haruna reporting for UBC News.
Now the search for a Pan-African Parliament president is on, and Egyptian Member of Parliament Mustafa El Gende is giving the top spot a shot in an extensive interview with UBC TV after meeting Ugandan Pan-African members of Parliament. Mustafa highlighted that once elected into office, fighting terrorism and putting in place free trade policies across the continent will top his agenda once elected into office.
The Pan-African Parliament was established as an organ of the African Union in order to ensure full participation of African people in the development and economic integration of the continent. Inaugurated on 18th March 2004 in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, its headquarters are located in Midrand, South Africa. Currently, the search for a new president of the parliament is on, and Egyptian parliamentarian Mustafa El Gende has shown interest in taking the top spot. He is currently in Uganda, lobbying for support.
I'm seeking from Uganda not only the support of Uganda by giving me the 5 votes of Uganda, I'm seeking for Uganda campaigning for me to get this post in the region. Uganda is a very respected country. You have a very wise president, respected by all the presidents of the region. You have a man of values and ethics, a man of the revolution.
Once elected into office, Mustafa plans to have a presidency looking and thinking outwards rather than inwards.
If you vote for me, we will try to make history, not money. We will try together to fight and to come out with a real parliament, that legislative, because until now we are consultative, but we will reach to be a legislative. parliament together. We will ask why the countries do not rectify. We will find the reason, and we will solve the reason, and at the end we will achieve what we are all dreaming of. We will move in all Africa. The parliament will go to the people and not the people will go to the parliament. We will move with our committees. We will go everywhere in Africa.
The African continent is currently home to over 5 terrorist groups, and these have wreaked havoc across the continent. Mustafa has sights set on suppressing this security threat.
We have a center in Egypt, anti-terrorism, a very advanced center. I'm looking to talk with the presidents of Africa to have 4 other in every region one, and to link them all together, because we are fighting the same enemy. We are fighting terrorism supported by countries who don't want for us stability, who don't want for us to live as brother and sister.
With a legislative experience of over 13 years, the Egyptian believes he's the right man for the job. The ultimate aim of the Pan-African Parliament is to be an institution with full legislative powers, whose members are elected by universal adult suffrage. Elections for the President of the Pan-African Parliament are due on the 10th of May 2018 in South Africa. Samuel Sennono, UBC News.
Now issues with the land probe. The Buganda Katikiro Charles Peter Maiga has appeared before the Commission of Inquiry into Land Matters. The Katikiro presented a memorandum of the land probe listing a number of concerns by the kingdom, including a proposal to abolish Milo land and tenure, and at the same time fuse it with other tenures. The proposal to introduce compulsory acquisition was also proposed for land reforms and land laws, and also address the rampant grabbing of land within the country.
The Katikiro of Buganda has told the Commission of Inquiry into Land Matters that there is fear that the commission was set up to take Buganda Kingdom land.
This reality explains the kingdom's fears and the general fears within the ordinary people, that the proposed remove of Milo tenure is targeting the Kabaka of Buganda. There is that fear, my lord, like I said at the beginning, within the mind.
However, Commissioner Robert Sebunya said that the Commission is not against anybody's land, but to seek effective and management ways to solve land problems.
Land matter aimed at targeting to take away the land of Uganda. That, Oishwa Katikiro, is not part of us. We are only there to ensure that our findings help to settle the grievances, the complaints concerning the administration of land.
The Katikiro also told the commissioners to look into the restoration of federal system so that the regions can deal with the land issues.
The challenge is to politicize it, because Buganda went and did this to Bunyoro and took land. I know many non-Buganda who have lots of land in Buganda today, and they are absent landlords. I know many absent landlords. They have square miles of land within Buganda, they don't stay there.
The interactions and engagements by the Katikiro of Buganda and the commissioners lasted close to 7 hours. Katikiro was accompanied by dignitaries from Buganda Kingdom, including Prince David Wasaja. The Katikiro advised the commissioners to deal with other issues of land other than the land tenure system.
For me, I've been to Bunyoro many times. The biggest challenge of the people in Bunyoro actually are not the absent landlords. People don't have drugs in hospitals. I went to a school in Bunyoro, all the kids didn't have shoes. They looked malnourished. I talked to people of Bunyoro who couldn't market their maize. They had cultivated maize and there was no market for the maize. No one told me about the absent landlords.
The Katikiro cited the need to set up land tribunal to settle land issues in the country. Zahara Bigaba, UBC.
Now, in public service, we all need excellent service. This is especially true when the service we seek is offered in a public entity. The Ministry of Public Services meant to ensure that civil servants have tools they need to make good service delivery possible. In this following report, we see how this is being done.
In less than 2 months, the Minister of Finance will read the 2018-2019 national budget before Parliament. But how have the 17 public sectors used the money already allocated to them for this current financial year? Join me, Rachel Takali, as I look into this matter each Wednesday and Thursday here on UBC TV News. On most weekdays, Mrs. Catherine Bitarakwate Mosingwire can be found at her desk in the Ministry of Public Service. As the Permanent Secretary, she oversees one of the best-known public sectors of all. Indeed, civil service questions of every variety fall directly under Mrs. Mosingwire's docket. For years, proper record-keeping remained a major challenge in the public service.
Many of the problems that government is experiencing arise out of poor records management. I could cite the issues on pensions, delayed pensions, loss of documents, comes down to records management. Loss of appointment letters is records management. When it comes to lands registry, it's again records management. Judiciary, it's records management, wherever you go. So this is a very, very important area.
Pensioners and active civil servants alike went through a tedious process whenever their details needed to be captured, stored, retrieved or enhanced. But the picture has been changing. At the heart of this transformation is the state-of-the-art electronic document management system. The Open Registry for Active Ministry Employees and the National Pension Scheme have always had a physical address here. Now, they have an electronic home also. The old way could no longer cope with trends and demands of a modern civil service. To date, massive amounts of information are electronically scanned continually here and can be transmitted anywhere there is a network. This way, related institutions are able to access pension information and other files. The EDMS is particularly useful for dealing with correspondences from other entities, whether they're inquiries or additional information on active civil servants and pensioners. Other initiatives are already underway to improve public service in general. Among them is procuring the human capital management system to replace the integrated pay and personnel system.
We'll expect that with this system, authenticating public officers or civil servants is going to be much smarter. That for those who have been able to beat the system, maybe changing dates of birth or altering all sorts of things, that will not happen. So there will be less delays, less tendencies of errors on the payroll, and really the kind of accuracy that we desire.
Revision of the pay policy has already been approved by the Cabinet, while a Cabinet paper on alternative pay structures is in place. An electronic records management policy, customization of local government structures, guidelines on managing e-learning, review of performance agreements of accounting officers have all been undertaken this financial year. But more emphasis will now be placed on boosting the role of the National Negotiating and Consultative Council as demands for better pay increase.
Lately, there has been a lot of agitation for pay, a lot of industrial action. So we are stepping up the performance of the National Negotiating and Consultative Council with more focused meetings, more outreaches, and more engagement with the trade unions so that we can quell the industrial action and also work from the same platform. It is really a matter of dialogue.
Much remains to be done here, but good progress is being made towards better service delivery. For that is the core mandate of the Ministry of Public Service, after all. For UBC TV News, I'm Rachel Takali.
Well, thank you so much there, Rachel Takali. She will definitely be updating us on what's happening with the national budget, giving us a previous version of what transpired and the anticipated allocations. Now, moving on, National Water and Sewerage Corporation and the National Forestry Authority have launched a tree planting campaign that will see 1 million planted in various parts of the country. The campaign is aimed at reducing pressure on Uganda's natural forests and protection of water resources.
Charcoal remains the most preferred source of energy for domestic use in urban areas, with the rest of the communities using wood fuel. About 4,961 metric tons of charcoal is used by households in Uganda per day.
We use more than 1 million metric tons of charcoal, especially urban areas. They use a lot of those trees. And these trees, most of them come from the indigenous species I talked about. Then we use about 600,000 metric tons of sawnwood, which is not even enough. That's why sometimes we plant pine and eucalyptus.
A survey on the status of charcoal production, transportation, trade and consumption by the Energy Minister of 2015 noted that up to 2 million metric tons of charcoal are produced and consumed every year in Uganda. According to the Minister of Water and Environment, the country loses about 100,000 hectares of forest cover every year, situation said to be worsening the effect of climate change. National Water and Sewerage Corporation, in partnership with the National Forestry Authority, have agreed to plant 1 million trees in 200 towns in Uganda. The Managing Director, National Water and Sewerage Corporation, Engineer Dr. Silva Mugisha, says the initiative aims at ensuring sustainability of water provision.
That tree planting is very, very important. We are trying to send a message that if we don't protect the environment, we have no business, we as a national water. This resource where we are getting water will get finished, and then we shall have a problem.
Addressing the media at national water offices in Kampala, the Acting Executive Director, National Forestry Authority, Paul Buyera, expects a successful campaign now that Ugandans have shown interest in tree planting.
As we talk now, the interest of planting trees is really very high. The challenge is getting the quality seed and seedlings and the type of species that people can plant. You know, like in Tororo, you can see people have small gardens, so they need to plant agroforestry trees like ficus, mituba.
At least 172,192 trees have so far been planted since 2017 by National Water and Sewerage Corporation, together with young water professionals and partners under the theme, Plant a Tree, Save the Future.
Water is life and sanitation is health.
Bernard Higa, UBC.
Definitely count me in. Actually, last week I planted about 5 trees. Moving on, the Archbishop of Tororo Diocese, Most Reverend Emmanuel Obo, is calling for financial support to raise the balance of 330 million shillings for the preparations of the upcoming Martyrs' Day. Over 700 million shillings is required for preparations of this year's Martyrs' Day celebrations.
Every 3rd June, Uganda honors martyrs who were killed between 1885 to 1887 on orders of the then Kabaka of Buganda, Muwanga II. Uganda hosts pilgrims from in and outside the country annually, who mainly visit Namugongo Martyrs Shrine. With just 1 month left to DCI's Matters Day celebrations, only 60% of the 700 million needed for preparations is available.
We have also so far raised about 390 million shillings. And so we have a balance of about 330 million shillings. And yet we have barely a month left.
The budget for Matters Day celebrations has over time increased due to the huge numbers of pilgrims flocking Namugongo. Archbishop of Tororo Diocese Emmanuel Obo is now appealing for support to the noble cause of pilgrimage.
We continue to appeal to all people of goodwill and institutions to support this celebration in honor of our matters. The success of Tororo is indeed our success as Ugandans.
Over 4 million pilgrims from different parts of the world are expected this year.
We are expecting millions of pilgrims from within Uganda and from all over the world. The Archdiocese of Tororo has already registered about 4,000 pilgrims, and more are still being registered. Uganda Catholic Secretariat has also received notifications from Malawi, Tanzania, Kenya, South Africa, and Nigeria. We expect confirmations from international pilgrims in their thousands in the month of May as we draw closer to the day.
On the moral note, the organizing committee of Matters Day celebration has sounded a warning to all those who go for the celebrations for other reasons rather than homage to Uganda matters.
It seems that the only place where there is a lot of sexual aberration is only at the Catholic shrine. Now, we have lights everywhere, but of course if people are intent on malice, they will always do it anywhere. And you, the media, they pick up on the young people who come to Namugongo sometimes really not to pray, but to enjoy themselves.
Two catechists, Blessed David Okello and Blessed Gildo Ira from Paimol, who were killed in 1918, will be honored. The main celebrant will be the Archbishop of Tororo Diocese, Emmanuel Obo. Susan Nawonga reporting.
Now, the Kampala Capital City Authority has assured the pupils and parents of Kisubi Primary School that the land ownership case will be amicably resolved. Juliet Namudu, KCCA's Director of Education, assured the pupils, teachers and parents while receiving a donation of scholastic materials from the China Railway 7th Group.
The court case on the demolition and ownership of the land where Kasubi Primary School sits has dragged on for over a year, and Kampala Capital City Authority will not give up.
That case is still going on. It hasn't yet been resolved. We are now going through mediation, which comprises Buganda Kingdom, represented by Buganda Land Board, and the court, of course. So we hope everything will be okay.
Juliet Namudu, the Director Education at Kampala Capital City Authority, was interacting with the media at the handover of scholastic materials to the pupils by the China Railway 7th Group.
This is usual to fulfill the social responsibility when you are working in some area, some place. Yeah, to engage the local communities, engage the school, engage the student, the hospital, engage the people who are around here, and to do some social responsibility.
According to KCCA, the pupils, parents and teachers of the Kasubi Primary School are not comfortable within the premises, and the time frame of the conclusion of the court case cannot be ascertained.
We wait for the outcomes of that mediation, and once it is done, we will refurbish the school. We'll make it better than what it is, because we are ready as cases here. You can never determine how the court cases take, how long they last. But we are keeping our fingers crossed, and we believe that once everything is sorted, we'll be fine. Yes.
Over 500 pupils of Kasubi KCCA Primary School benefited from the China Construction Company Corporate Social Responsibility. The school also received desktop computers to aid in the learning process. Dennis Igor for UBC News.
Now, a bit into the health sector, Uganda ranks 14th among the world's 22 countries with high tuberculosis burden. This is in spite of having a national treatment program. We do have details in this report.
Tuberculosis causes serious health complications in adults and children. Lately, children suffer from TB due to poor healthcare seeking behavior of parents and difficulties in diagnosis. The head of department TB clinic Kisugu Hospital Mohanji Apollo says that if a child has consistent cough for more than 2 weeks, they should be taken for tuberculosis testing.
We've really woken up, and if a child, we are able to take off the spit and it's negative, but this child has signs and symptoms, cardinal signs and symptoms suggestive of TB. These are weight loss, the child is not able to eat altogether, and there is also history of contact to a TB adult case. Regardless of their findings, we are starting these children on TB treatment.
Says every individual has TB, but symptoms only emerge when a person's immunity is very low, making children vulnerable since they usually have a low immune system.
It was done. Actually, all of us, we have tuberculosis, but only that our immunity is still strong. But when it lowers down, then the bacteria shows up. So it is high in children because children, their immunity is low. 2, children are so close to adults and they get tuberculosis from adults. And for them, they hardly protect themselves because we have like protective gears. We say when you're coughing, cough in your arm like this, or sneezing. The child sometimes, they cannot do that.
Tuberculosis in children can only be prevented by giving children a shot of BCG vaccine, the only vaccine for preventing TB. This is usually given to all children as part of the childhood immunization program, and it protects a child from different forms of disseminated TB. Common symptoms of tuberculosis include a cough that lasts up to 3 weeks or more, loss of appetite, weight loss, fever, and night sweats. I'm Weswade Halima Yassin reporting.
We still have a detailed, fully packed bulletin coming up with other segments, and of course not to mention we do have a business segment that is coming up next after this break. In business and on the local scene, the Uganda Bankers Association, the umbrella body of all commercial banks operating in Uganda, has launched the agency banking systems. Agency banking is a new and innovative financial system within the region that is expected to boost financial inclusion across the country.
The Uganda Bankers Association has unveiled the shared agent banking systems that enables an extension of banking services outside the conventional bank branches.
And what the shared platform will then do is to enable connectivity with all the member banks so that agents across the country can serve customers of any member bank. And through that, through the numerous outlets, then we can reach out the bigger part of the population, have them, subscribe to services, extend services to the deepest levels.
The platform, which has been so successful in the neighboring Kenya, was approved by the Central Bank of Uganda on the 28th of December 2017 for members of UBA to conduct agent banking business.
The launch of the agent banking shared platform is a key milestone in our drive for financial inclusion and is part of the various initiatives being implemented by government. So we want to express our appreciation.
According to various financial sector stakeholders, the initiative will be critical in fostering financial inclusion in Uganda.
It's a lot of hard work that has been put in this to bring it today to fruition and completion and launching it for our customers.
among the things we are requested to do is provide a multi-channel enabled platform. That means it needs to be inclusive for everybody.
It is estimated that less than a third of Uganda's population, about 8 million people, have accounts in commercial banks.
We also open to work with, and as we've been doing, we've been working with partners like FSTU. We continue to do this because today is the launch, but there's a lot of work that is coming ahead of us where we need to really grow the uptake of financial services to the unbanked, the underbanked, and even the banked.
The Minister for Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Matia Kasaija, emphasized that extension of banking services and bringing on board the proportion of Uganda's population to the formal banking system is the ultimate objective of agency banking. Dennis Igoa for UBC Business.
Thank you very much there, Dennis Sigona. Moving on into the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, it is drafting an open data policy to enable the public access and use all government data. According to the Assistant Commissioner for Information Management Service, Silas Ngabirano, government data will be available for use without restrictions.
The Open Data Policy Initiative is in line with existing ICT laws, policies and strategies, including the Constitution, Computer Misuse Act and Access to Information Act.
And right now we have got a first draft and we are holding stakeholder consultations so that this policy can be enriched. And on this occasion we are happy to partner with the African Union of Conservationists and the Department of Science and Technology of the Government of South Africa.
It excludes data with person identifiable information and data with security, commercial, intellectual property rights, or environmental restrictions.
All government proceedings and data are accessible to the public unless this data has security connotations, and or if this data has privacy issues, or if this data has commercial restrictions. But otherwise, all data in government custody is open to the public.
Scientists have appreciated the move, saying it will boost research and innovation in Uganda.
It improves the delivery from the government, and it improves the way in which society at large can engage with the government process and with the services delivered.
Data has been a challenge. Even in key decision making, you find that we do not have timely, reliable, and quality data. And data is the basis for making evidence-based advice.
The policy highlights requirements for successful implementation of open data in Uganda, intended to make it part of normal internal data management processes in ministries, departments, and agencies. Samuel Garandi, UBC News.
Crossing borders, Iranian President Hassan Rouhani has warned US President Donald Trump to stick to the nuclear deal. Trump earlier said that unless his European allies fix what he called terrible flaws in the deal by May 12th, he will restore US economic sanctions on Iran. This would be a severe blow to the pact. Iran has vowed to vamp up its nuclear program if the deal collapses. Let's have that bite from the CGTN partner TV.
And Trump earlier said that unless European allies fix what he called terrible flaws in the deal by May the 12th, he will restore U.S. economic sanctions on Iran. And this would be a severe blow to the pact. Iran has vowed to ramp up its nuclear program if the deal collapses. And also on Tuesday, Iran's representative to the UN told a nuclear non-proliferation conference that the landmark deal will not be negotiated or altered.
The U.S. policy on the JCPOA sends an unambiguous message to others that the U.S. is not a reliable party in any bilateral or multilateral.
Straight straight away into sports, and on the local scene, the Federation of Uganda Football Association with the Church of Uganda Namirembe Diocese have carried out a groundbreaking ceremony at the proposed FUFA Training Center, Kadiba Ground. In a ceremony conducted at the facility located in Mengo, Rubaga Division in Kampala, the groundbreaking event for the construction works of the facility officially got underway. Vicar Reverend Festo Kalungi from Namirembe Cathedral, who represented the church, indicated that as a church, they are delighted to be part of football development within the country. The Minister for Youth and Children Affairs, Honorable Florence Nachiwala Chiyinji, also the third FUFA Vice President, lauded the church for offering the land and stated that FUFA is committed towards developing the game of football in all aspects. Meanwhile, FUFA has unveiled a new anthem and flag to be used at every FUFA function. Time moves very fast, and it's very sad that we have to go. But of course, that does bring us to the very end of our News Tonight bulletin. But first, before we sign out, let's have a recap of our headlines. President Museveni orders for UTL revamp. UBC to publicize agricultural research. Iran might ramp up its nuclear program. Well, that's it from us, but of course do not go away, for up next is the Champions League semi-finals. My name is Patricia Lokoma. Stay tuned.